Good morning, friends. Today I'm going to talk a little about the little kids. My Christmas was difficult. I look like tired. I got information about the Freemasonic occult raping of 3, 4, 5, 6-year-old children, toddlers, by the Freemasons. I hoped and I prayed that this is some kind of filthy nightmare. I hoped and I prayed that people will tell me this is untrue. I hope somebody will send me information, this is some mind programming, this is untrue. But unfortunately, I've got many emails from the world, from Canada, from the US, directly from people who used to work in government in Russia. They told me, well, I was very naive. That happens for real to these little toddlers, like 3, 4, 5, 6-year-old. The sex slavery, it really happens. I knew that. I was working as the singer in many hotels, 5-star hotels and the biggest cruise lines. And they tried to enslave me. I did my good quality, respectful clothes, covered, not playing stupid games, ballroom and pop music in 5-star hotels and on cruise lines. In some places they were trying to lock out my salary and bend me psychologically. They were telling me evening after evening, come party with us. And these were GMs and the directors, the managers, food and beverage managers, GMs, who were partying with their prostitutes. They were still asking to come and join them. When I was finding excuse for first mass, next mass, I was finding excuses that I'm busy, I didn't want to be another prostitute. Then they were locking out my salary. They were changing my volumes during performance. So I had the club in Sharm el Sheikh Clown Plaza. I had the club full of people standing without place to sit. And during a very challenging song, When You Believe by Mariah Carey and Whitney Houston, during the very challenging song, the GM showed the DJ to turn off my volume, and then they were locking out my salary. In Cyprus, they were not paying me my salary, though I was performing the biggest of the biggest 5-star hotels of Paphos in Cyprus. They locked out my salary, and they didn't pay my salary for 3 months. When I asked for my salary, and they started to just threaten me. Just you are not happy, you go back home. They knew that I don't have money to go back home for tickets. They were paying me like 100 euro only for some food, and they were locking out my salary. I've got to hear from this guy who did it to me that he was actually working before for US military, and still he is dealing with some intelligence of the US military. And I called the consul in Nicosia, Cyprus, the Polish consul. She gave me a couple of phone numbers to some officers. When they called him, the agent, the guy who used to work, he and his wife for the US military, he said to the officer that he paid everything, but I did some records with the recorder talking to another singer, the English gentleman who was also like corrupted by them, and I made the records. So the officer said to my agent, but she has records. The agent went crazy. After 2 days later, he was with all my salary in the office, begging me to tell to the GMs, general managers of the 5-star hotels where I used to work, that I'm okay, that he was kind to me. Of course, I didn't tell them that he was kind to me. I wrote them message that thank God I come back to my country safe after the trauma. And here it is, the story. I just received today the message from young US soldier, army soldier, young US army soldier, Facebook. We are in touch since a couple of days after I started to repost the post for the little toddlers raped by the Freemasons. He writes the note: this week in sports, broken leg, broken back, broken neck. When you're gonna realize it ain't all about this life. Well, I started to answer, but then by some fault I deleted my long answer, so I will tell this. Okay, the explanation. Here at the beginning of this movie, you see a couple of my pictures. This is taken by some photographer working for the famous in Los Angeles and stuff like that. When I arrived in the US, like 3 years ago, I met actually many of these kind of guys who were, by some bizarre chance, trying to get me in touch via email, via phone, via email, down on the street in the markets, trying to get in touch with me. And they were telling me, we take you pictures, we make star of you, we make star of you. I said, actually, I need some little portfolio, but and I took this portfolio outside in the in Los Angeles. That's the but they wanted me to take out more clothes and stuff like that. I didn't agree. I didn't agree on any other any more of these offers of having some portfolio undressed, you know. So there are many of these idiots like running like dizzy with their, you know, confused way of, they look at you confused, like, you know, something is sick inside of them, and they know that, and they offer you, they will make you portfolio, and they want you to take out this and that and this and that, clothes, of course. When you I didn't agree on this kind of portfolio, and I've got a couple of emails and stuff like that, and I used to meet people down the street who offered me work, and then we were talking about music, but then they were telling about my portfolio, and they will be most happy if I just take out my clothes. I didn't agree, and what I get to know right now, when you simply Google these 3 words, Disney, Freemason, Satanists, you will get too many pages about Hollywood underground studios and stuff like that. Too many pages to read it all. What they do usually, they take some dizzy girls who are naive, like I was naive some time ago, but thank God I was saved like by miracle from these guys. They take these naive girls, especially that in America, kids are very lazy, dizzy, programmed by TV. The young girls in Poland, when we were destroyed by wars and crimes of wars, we learned how to cook, how to sew, how to do some job. Especially in my family, I knew how to do gardening, cook and bake, and when I was like 9-year-old, 9-year-old, when I was 14-year-old, I've learned how to do sewing and knitting and embroidering. In the US, the girls, generally saying, are terribly spoiled. They give the comments to their parents. and they are programmed by TV. Each one of them dreams that she will be soon the star of TV, maybe like Marilyn Monroe. Well, they see the nice picture of my Marilyn Monroe, like very sexy, but they didn't see how she finished and her end, like Elvis Presley, like many other who were more spiritual. They were dying in disrespect, in lack of dignity. Like the life was perhaps some disgusting misunderstanding, dying too soon, drugged, perhaps vomiting with some drinks. So they were dying too soon in lack of dignity. American freedom. What is American freedom? I am here in America, but I will tell you, in God we trust. And God was love, and not a disrespectful, sorry for the word, fucker. God is love, who cares for you for good and bad times, who thinks about you. God is something who you can pray to every day. If you don't believe God, okay, compared to your mother or somebody who used to love you. It's a good love. It's a good love. Somebody who prays for you and remembers your name and remembers your face. That's what your children need. The American soldiers. Do they want to come back to another girl who runs dizzy down the streets of New York? I live here. 16, 17-year-old girls, dizzy, drunk. Their consciousness about what's going in the world is like confusion, big shame. They have no consciousness of what's happening in the world. They run from party to party, drunk, dizzy. When they open their mouths, what they say is just, sincerely telling a shame. Poor, dizzy, silly, empty. Does the soldier dream to come back to a woman? He will find her running from party to party, dizzy after drinks and drugs. Does he dream to come back to such a woman, who hardly dressed in the winter, runs from party to party, drunk, dizzy, telling some silly things without meaning, and he just experienced the crimes of war? People dying, children dying. What he can tell to such a woman? When he will tell about it, she will mock. She will reach for another drink and reach for another stupid clothes like a prostitute, style like prostitute. Sorry, but I have customer in Manhattan. Right now I work with some sewing and design. I have customers in Manhattan. When I come back from my customer, I finish in the evening and I come back. Like sometimes I have to wait for the train, and I have the train at 11 at night. Then I see the American youth. It's confusion. Generally saying, it's confusion. The majority, when they open lips to talk. So in the Hollywood, what you will find when you simply Google Disney, Freemason, Satanist, cult to Satan. And that's what your children watch. The sexy, even the characters for children, they need to look like the wars. Sorry for that. But this is not the God. God loves you respectfully for good and bad times. Your face is changing. Your hair is getting gray. Something happens to your health or body. God loves you. Good love loves you. But what I got to know, they take the dizzy girls who want to be the stars. They don't know how to do anything. Many of them do not have no clue how to sing, how to dance, how to, acting. I was acting 6 years in music theater, one of the biggest in Poland. Acting is not difficult. Children start acting when they are tiny little. Is acting an art? Playing somebody you are not? Lying? Playing a war for anybody's request? Is acting an art? I will tell you. In the musical, one of the biggest theaters in Poland, I worked 6 years in the biggest musicals. And they believed that I'm exceptionally amazing acting. Very authentic, very strong personality. I will tell you, acting is not difficult. A child can do. That's the fact. A child can do. But only a war kind of mentality can do like your stars do. Like your stars do. Have some disrespectful sex with anything that moves. Sorry. You should sometimes watch it from the other side. What the people in the world think about it. I know many people in America are intelligent enough to notice. Many of the soldiers experienced it with the war are intelligent to notice. But what is acting? Any child can do, believe me. But you know, to me, personally, when I already lived many years to the theater and acting, to me personally, being true is the pleasure. And acting, the more silly rules they offer you, is just feeling filthy inside. Because the pleasure is the true spirit. The pleasure is the holy true spirit that talks through you for what you really feel, for what you really live. It's the pleasure to talking to people. It's the pleasure talking to people when you feel them true. It's not the pleasure talking to people when you feel them acting like a silly idiots. It's not the pleasure, not an impression, not a pleasure to talk to people who act in front of you like a silly idiots. It's the pleasure to talk to people down the street, to anybody, poor or rich, whoever, that they talk to you honestly. This is the pleasure. Feeling the connection, the honest connection. And you have your stars that right now, you know, majority of American lazy girls went to the studios of Hollywood. They got some drinks because they were meant to be big stars. You know how the photographers start with them? They give them some drinks. They sip something to the drink, some drug. They give them some marijuana or stuff like that. They start playing porno movies in the studios of Hollywood. They start when the dizzy person is enough dizzy and not controlling herself, herself. They start playing with her body, his body, and they record it. They don't even have to show. The studios have glass and the cameras are recording. And when the records are done and such a person wakes up from the dizziness and finds, my God, what a shit, then they say, but we have some movies. And this person is in trap. That's what you do to your children. That's what you do to your children, worshipping your idols. Not the God you try to talk about. Not the God, but the idols. Many filthy pedophiles in the church, Catholic Church and other churches. Right now I reposted and I will repost under this movie the note I have from the official website. The Pope Retzinger is in the Tribunal of the Church and State Crimes, and there are witnesses. He was raping many tiny little children, and one of the children during the ritual rape he killed. the Freemasonic ritual raping of the children. That's the filthy secret. So in the secret, they were Clinton and other, but their life wasn't holy as well. They were trying to talk about this is nothing other than the filthy shame in this secret. They replaced the word godly, respectful love with the so-called freedom. They lied you that you are free when you are becoming more and more and more and more enslaved. The soldiers trained like without humanity. The women who turned into disrespectful prostitutes. This soldier writes to me this thing. As a man, Jesus saw things that caught his eye, emotion and imagination when he was tempted by Satan, but quickly allowed the truth to come in and speak to him before sin came in and began to drag on him. So don't be confused or mad. It happened because we lack the 100% truth of wisdom. 93% sadly just won't do, but prayer can fill in what's missing. So he writes about Jesus. Well, if you read the Bible carefully and pay attention to the last moment, then you find, in the end, when you read the Gospel about Jesus, after his resurrection and days with the students, with the apostles, he leaves them. He says, I must leave them so they will come to me. That in a little later you'll find when he resurrected, then he left, you will find this moment that you should consider many times. They've sent to bring Maria Magdalena, but they didn't find her. Well, Maria Magdalena was a pretty girl. She was very pretty, and she was following Jesus all the time. She was the first person by his tomb, calling for him to be back, and he left her only for 3 days, and then he was with the apostles. In the old Far East techniques of spiritual techniques, in the old Far East spiritual techniques, thousands years before Jesus, you will find the technique called resurrection 3 days after death. And Jesus was studying a lot between he was 12 and 30. He was studying a lot of these techniques. His name is written in the Tibet book in Tibet, but that's maybe the other time I will tell you. But you have this for all the believers, of course. You have this note. They sent them to bring Maria Magdalena, but they didn't find her. Well, she was pretty, but she didn't want to be a filthy prostitute, and Jesus took care about her. And then the other note, they sent to bring Maria and Joseph, but they didn't find them. Jesus knew that Maria Magdalena will be prosecuted and in a terrible situation if he will leave them in those times, in those places, like the first Christians were persecuted, were tortured and killed and murdered. Burning load was poured into their throats. They were refusing eating meat, so the burning load was poured in their throats, what you will find on internet. And then they created the torturers and murderers of the first Christians, created the official church, of course. And there are many liars and pedophiles and people who take advantage on your children in these religions. many of pedophiles. We have too many stories of pedophilia and sexual abuse in the Catholic, especially in the church where they practice celibacy, and in the other churches. And that's why I recommend to talk to Jesus if somebody believes, and I recommend to believe. I published many movies with atheists who live the clinical death, and they got to experience the thing like a hell and heaven and meeting angels and Jesus. And they were atheists. They used to mock and laugh at the believers, at the people who believe in God. They used to mock and laugh until their clinical death experience. So now these are the some of the famous people who were recorded in some TV programs, and gave their testimony on this experience of hell and heaven and stuff like that. Okay, so as I said, they sent to bring Maria Magdalena, but they didn't find her. So these were still the filthy people who served the beast, the men who were serving the beast, the sexual kind of look at the woman. So the women, so each time when they use these women, there is not more pleasure than disgust. These many women, they don't remember their names. They don't make the man a man. This is not a man at all. Filthy pervert, psychotic pervert, and pedophile is not a man at all, because no woman will make him the man, like on all levels of being, like, celebrating him, praying for him, taking care about his clothes, taking care about his life, taking care about his skin, taking care about his hair, his backbone, his massage, his story, his day after day story. No woman will make a filthy pervert and a psychopath a man. That's the fact. And men, listen to this. That's the fact. No woman will make a real man from filthy pervert, because simply it's too difficult to remember your name, because it's unpleasant to remember your face, because it's nasty experience to remember your face. It's nasty experience to remember your name, because it doesn't matter for this person to pray for you. Some women say, oh wait, they enjoy it, but well, how much? I believe no quality, good character and heart man enjoys being with the woman who feels like empty rubber doll. No emotions, no care, no love, no soul. Yesterday I saw a very interesting movie about no soul. That's how they try to program you right now. They need more and more people who work like the slaves, and they believe that it's wonderful, everything is fine, and they have no soul, no feelings, no emotions. That's what they try to do from you. They don't need your emotions. They don't need your feelings and you asking for the truth. Remember the face of Bush. They tell he is taking part in the Freemasonic rapes underground of the little children. Remember his mocking face. That's how they respect you. That's how they respect you. That's how they care about you. You want to wash away your soul, your spirit, your connection with God, with stupid propaganda, disrespectful movies, disrespectful show, nasty drugs, poisons given to your food. And that's the fact. So, whatever we can do, but I'm sorry for you soldiers. I know what's happened to America. They were telling you this is the freedom, but this was the just the Freemasonic Satanist beast. And they were telling this is the freedom what was not loving you. Not loving, not caring, not praying for you like the true soulmates do. And if you want to check the name aberramento. In old spiritual Gnosticism, it's the spirit of woman and man who care for each other, who love each other. And through the experience of many things, like including smile, but including tears and pain, and the aberramento, they call this is the spirit of Jesus and Maria Magdalena. Aberramento in all Gnosticism is the spirit of soulmates who love through all the easy and difficult experiences, for good and bad times, for poverty and good, easier times, for being healthy and sick, and they clear their soul because they do not want to hurt each other, and they care and they pray for each other. Well, this cannot happen to you when you look for your woman in the nightclub, or when you look for your man going to the Hollywood studio to find another pervert and pedophile. I've met many pedophiles already here, and many psychotic perverts who were trying to get me pictures, if only I want to take out this stuff, the clothes. So that's how it works. American freedom, that's how they replace your God with this lie that was not a freedom at all. But it is what it is, and you know this for sure, and you see it better and better. They replaced your God that is respectful, loving and caring and praying love with some poor excuse for a freedom. Well, sorry to tell you this honestly, but somebody has to tell this. Have a blessed Sunday and godly New Year.